There's a water stain on the ceiling, yellowish-brown, like a face twisted in eternal agony, its outlines blurred by dampness yet carrying a sickly, eerie clarity, as if it's the soul of this room itself screaming silently. I've been staring at it for so long I've lost track of time, maybe 3 hours, maybe 5. In this space, time isn't the steady tick of a clock anymore. It's a viscous, rancid liquid I'm drowning in, slowly suffocating. The cigarette pack is empty, crumpled in my hand like a drained corpse, lying helplessly on the bedside table coated in thick dust. My stomach is empty too, occasionally spasming in protest, but I no longer feel hunger, just a hollow, pervasive weakness spreading from my gut to every limb. The room reeks of an indescribable sour rot, untouched takeout boxes, mold creeping in the corners, sweat mingled with despair. That's my smell, the stench of a man rotting from the inside out. My name is Arthur Penhalligan. Just over a year ago, that name meant something entirely different. It stood for Mr. Penhalligan, the teacher who could make T.S. Eliot's The Waste Land hush a room full of hormone-addled, distracted 10th graders, making them feel the spiritual wreckage of a collapsing modern world. The man who could dissect the green light at the end of Gatsby's dock, its hope and disillusionment of the American dream, with the precision of a surgical procedure, layer by layer, down to its core. Chalk dust was my signature cologne, settling day after day on my black loafers, a thin layer like the silent snow of time, a badge of my steady life. I was certain I'd spend my days in that bright, sunlit classroom, teaching, shaping minds, watching my son Julian grow from a toddler who needed me to read picture books into a young man taller than me, with his own ideas. Then, with my wife Eleanor, on the porch of our paid-off suburban house, we'd grow old in rocking chairs, basking in the sun, reminiscing about half-forgotten details of our youthful past. A meticulously planned, uneventful life, safe as a glass of lukewarm water. Now, I hide in this $800 a month rental on the city's grimiest edge, its window facing a graffiti-covered brick wall, like a rat cowering in the city's sewers, terrified of sunlight or any light that might reveal my ugliness. Eleanor doesn't know this address, and Julian certainly doesn't. Like a clumsy magician desperate to escape, I've severed every tie to my old life, hoping to vanish completely, cleanly, from their beautiful world. How did it all spiral into this irredeemable abyss? Looking back, the spark that ignited my life's destruction was so trivial, so mundane, it's almost laughable. Not some earth-shattering catastrophe or sinister temptation, just a heatwave last summer that swept the state. Our 15-year-old central AC unit gave a death rattle and quit. The stifling air clung to our skin like glue. The repairman, a greasy middle-aged guy, inspected it and shook his head with a grim prognosis. The compressor was fried. Fixing it would cost $1,200, parts and labor. Eleanor, wiping sweat from her forehead and neck with a handkerchief, sighed at the number, her eyes heavy with the familiar exhaustion of our constant financial strain. "Let's tough it out, honey," she said. "Julian's saxophone lessons are due next month, and we can't skimp on that." I didn't say anything, just nodded heavily. That $1,200 was no small sum for us. My salary as a veteran public school teacher was stable, but barely kept our middle-class life afloat in these inflating times. Eleanor's part-time job at the community library brought in even less. We lived in a quiet suburb with neatly trimmed lawns, drove a 7-year-old Toyota Camry, and had a garage full of junk we couldn't bear to throw out. Every expense was carefully budgeted. Dreams like a European vacation felt impossibly distant. Our life was a machine on a fixed track, chugging along day after day. That night, the heat made sleep impossible. I lay on the living room couch, tossing and turning, coated in sticky sweat. To distract myself from the oppressive warmth, I scrolled aimlessly on my phone. Then I remembered a casual comment from the teacher's lounge. Mark, the energetic gym teacher always chasing the next big thing, had bragged to us bored male teachers about winning half a month's salary on an NBA playoff bet through a sports betting site. He flashed his phone, showing off the green digits of his profits, glaring under the lounge's dim lights. "This isn't like pulling slots in a casino," he said. "You need to know probability data analysis. For us teachers with sharp minds, it's a damn ATM." Sharp minds. Those two words, like a poisoned seed, fell into the cracked, barren soil of my mind, parched from years of mediocrity and repression, on that hot, restless night. My whole life had been spent wrestling with knowledge, logic, and reason. I believed in analysis, in patterns, in the power of intellect. In that moment, I pathetically, delusionally convinced myself this wasn't gambling. It was an intellectual game, one I could win with my mental edge. I didn't ask Mark for the site's address. That felt beneath the dignity of a refined English literature teacher. But I remembered the name. Late at night, after ensuring Eleanor and Julian were asleep, I opened my laptop. In a seedy corner of a sports forum cluttered with games and tacky ads, I clicked a nondescript link. The site's interface was surprisingly professional, clean, no flashy pop-ups. Real-time odds scrolled by, red arrows for dropping odds, green for rising, all orderly, radiating the allure of rational data. New users got $100 in free credit. I told myself I'd use that $100 to test the waters. Win enough to fix the AC, then stop, delete everything, pretend it never happened. I even felt a small, ridiculous pride in my supposed reason and discipline. I picked a European soccer match I didn't care about, spending half an hour analyzing team stats, player injuries, past matchups, even coaching tactics, as meticulously as I'd prep for a big lecture. Then, like a nervous intern on their first surgery, I bet the $100 on the team my analysis deemed likelier to win. I didn't watch the game. I just refreshed the live score page, my heart pounding with every click. When the final whistle blew, the score froze. I'd won. My account now held $280, principal and profit. A rush of adrenaline flooded me, a sensation I'd never felt. 10,000 times more thrilling than applause for a brilliant lecture, 10,000 times more immediate than a paper accepted by a journal. I bet again, all $280. After an anxious 90 minutes, it became $750. It was like opening Pandora's box, unleashing a demonic desire. I went all in again, and by 4 a.m., as dawn broke outside, my balance hit $1,600. I clicked withdraw. I expected a complicated process, ID checks, long reviews. But no, within a minute, my bank app pinged with the deposit. That crisp notification sound was the sweetest music I'd ever heard, a symphony of fate. My heart pounded like a war drum. It wasn't just money, it was validation, a belated proof. It whispered, Arthur, see? You're not just a $50,000 a year teacher agonizing over a $1,200 repair bill. You're not a failure on a mundane track. You've got a brilliant mind, a knack for patterns, better than the average Joe. It wasn't the devil's breath. It was a hymn the devil composed, sung straight into my soul, hot and itching, intoxicating. I didn't tell Eleanor. The next morning, I casually called the repairman and paid the fee. When cool air flowed through the living room again, I felt like a king who'd saved his realm. That afternoon, I drove to the upscale downtown mall, straight to the boutique Eleanor had lingered at but always left, daunted by a $400 price tag. I bought the silk dress she'd coveted. When she got home and saw the familiar shopping bag, she gasped, covering her mouth. She rushed to try it on, twirling in front of me, the deep blue hem blooming like a flower in the night. She hugged me, her face pressed to my chest, and asked in disbelief, Arthur, did you get a bonus? I hesitated for half a second, then nodded firmly. Yeah, the district's Teacher of the Year award. The lie slipped out, bringing a faint, almost negligible nausea. But it was quickly washed away by Eleanor's pure, unreserved joy. For the first time, I felt like a real man, capable of surprising his wife with luxury, not just delivering a predictable paycheck. That fleeting, life-fueled vanity, I paid for it with my entire life. From that day, I was no longer the whole, honest Arthur Penhalligan. I became a man with two identities, a pathetic double agent. By day, I was Mr. Penhalligan, quoting classics on the podium, voice booming, passionately urging my students to be honest, upright, to heed the Greek maxim, know thyself. I taught how unchecked desire devoured humanity in Macbeth, how Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman was destroyed by a false, unattainable American dream. I spoke with conviction, as if I were the embodiment of morality and wisdom. But at night, when Eleanor and Julian slept, I became someone else. Like a thief, I'd sneak into my study or the guest bathroom, locking the door softly. Only in the glow of my phone or laptop, watching those flickering numbers and volatile graphs, did I feel truly alive. Betting terms, handicap, spread, odds, in play, became my new lexicon, replacing Shakespeare and Fitzgerald. I was a double agent. One life in the safe, dull daylight, repressed. The other in the thrilling, limitless night, truly free. I kept winning. Winning felt magical, like I was omnipotent, fate's favorite, God's chosen. I bought Julian the latest gaming console with all the expensive games, claiming it was a school perk. I took Eleanor to the Michelin-starred French restaurant we'd skipped even on our anniversary, saying I'd won a grant for an education project. Her loving, admiring gaze made me feel like an invincible hero. I was addicted to this false glory built on money and lies, unable to stop, unwilling to stop. An avalanche starts with a single, harmless snowflake. Mine began with losing $15,000. It was a weekend, and I was on a hot streak, feeling I'd cracked the code. I bet everything I'd won, plus a chunk of our savings, over $15,000, on a match I was certain I'd win. When the result hit, my blood froze. I lost. In 90 minutes, $15,000 vanished. For the first time, I felt bone-deep fear. My heart was gripped by an icy, giant hand, choking my breath. Staring at the glaring red negative on the screen, cold sweat soaked my shirt. I rushed to the bathroom, dry heaving over the toilet, only bowel coming up. I told myself to stop, that this was the devil's game, too dangerous, stop before it's too late. But stop is the weakest, most laughable word in a gambler's vocabulary. Losing meant unwillingness to accept defeat, humiliation, the realization that all my victories, my brilliance, were illusions. A demonic voice screamed in my head, "Asterisk, get your money back. Win back that $15,000, and I swear to God, I'll quit forever. Asterisk." Chasing that cursed break-even, I tapped into Julian's college fund, nearly $30,000, saved religiously since our marriage, our solemn promise for his future. My fingers trembled as I accessed the joint account, telling myself it was just a loan, a temporary fix. I'd win it back and replace it, no one would know. I holed up in a cheap motel miles from home, gambling all weekend, telling Eleanor I was at a teacher's conference. For 2 days and nights, I barely slept, fueled by instant coffee and cigarettes, eyes bloodshot, glued to the screen's fluctuating numbers. My emotions rode a roller coaster, elation at fleeting wins, despair at crushing losses, banging my head against the wall. When I stumbled out of that smoke and stench-filled room, the sky was gray. My pockets held only a few coins. The $30,000 college fund, plus the $15,000 I'd lost, was gone. From that day, my life cracked open, a gaping, collapsing void I couldn't escape. Fights with Eleanor grew frequent. She questioned my strange late-night calls, my sleepless nights at the computer, my manic highs or stone-cold silences, the bizarre bank statements with unexplained withdrawals. I lied, colleagues needed loans, friends had emergencies. Each lie spawned 10 more, weaving a fragile web that trapped me and my family. Our savings, $200,000, scraped together over years of frugality, our safety net for Julian's tuition and a house down payment, vanished through countless transfers, reduced to a stark zero. My palms were clammy as I watched it disappear. I wanted to stop, I did. One night, kneeling on the cold bathroom tiles in the dark, I wept silently, slapping my face, cursing myself as scum, a hopeless wretch. But it was too late. The unwillingness to accept defeat, the shame of being fooled, dragged me deeper, hooks tearing into my soul. I told myself, asterisk one last time, win back half, and I'll confess, join a program, volunteer, atone for life. Asterisk. For that delusional last time, I borrowed wildly. I maxed out every credit card. When those became useless plastic, I turned to predatory online loan apps, their friendly interfaces and slogans. Fast cash, 1-minute approval. We fund your dreams, masking their indifference to my ability to repay. They opened hell's gates with a smile, then sealed me in. You know the feeling? Nodding, shaking your head, opening your mouth for a phone camera like a puppet, stripped of dignity, handing over every contact in your phone as emergency contacts. It's not just numbers, it's tearing off your face and your loved ones, letting faceless goons trample them. The debt snowballed, $50,000, $100,000, $500,000. Money stopped being currency, it was just chips to chase bigger numbers. After exhausting online loans, I did the unforgivable. Without telling Eleanor, I took a second mortgage on our not yet paid off house for $300,000, forging her signature, a name I'd written in love letters and vows, now defiled. Holding that check, I felt no joy, only the suffocating dread of drowning in icy water. Once, teaching Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter, I spoke of Reverend Dimmesdale, revered yet tormented by his secret sin, clutching his chest as if a burning brand seared his soul. Mid-lecture, my voice caught, words failing. I felt that same red-hot iron in my chest. Looking at my students' eager eyes, I saw myself, a hypocritical husk, preaching morality in a teacher's coat, soulless. Eleanor found out. Judgment Day came faster, crueler than I'd imagined. Driving home, a block away, an ominous feeling hit. The house was too quiet. No saxophone practice from Julian. I opened the door to find Eleanor on the couch, motionless, no lights on. Sunset filtered through the blinds, casting prison bar shadows on her. The coffee table held a mountain of papers. Open bank statements, loan collection notices, a court letter about the mortgage. Each page was a preemptive slap across my face. She didn't cry or scream as I'd feared. She just looked at me, her eyes eerily calm, chilling me to the bone, a dead calm, emotions burned to ash. Arthur, her voice was soft, hoarse, like dying embers. Where's the college fund? My throat filled with molten lead. I stood like a condemned man, head bowed, awaiting judgment.